Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Prabhu. I'm Chief Architect at Dataplatr. Let me take a screen share quickly. Hope you can see my screen now. So I think Harish covered about Dataplatr's pre-built analytics actually. So it's all available in the marketplace. But I'm going to double click on the financial analytics. So we look at the pre-built analytics for finance. I'll also cover a use case, the Agentic AI use case for the finance team. So as part of the finance pre-built analytics, we have four major modules like general ledger, account payables, account receivables, and fixed assets. Under each of these modules, we have multiple pre-built dashboards like general ledger contains like GL balance overview, trial balance, and various journal dashboards like search journal, cash receipts, and purchase journals. Under account payables, we have account payables overview and AP aging analysis and AP invoices and hold related analysis, and then finally the AP payment analysis. Similarly, on the account receivables, we have the transaction summary and AR aging analysis and the cash receipts analysis. So finally, on the fixed assets, we have FA asset overview and asset depreciation details. I'm going to run through some of these dashboards in the Databricks environment, the demo. And next is like I will also cover in the demo about this natural language assistance, which is like the Genie. So right, what is the advantage for the finance team? It is replacing the static finance dashboards with real-time conversations. It also helps the executives to answer some of the other questions about their the margins, revenues, variance, etc. Actually, and it end of the day, it removes the dependency on analyst for this routine financial queries, and it improves the decision velocity while maintaining the governed access because it is sitting on top of the Unity catalog actually. So finally, it lets the finance team to focus on the forecasting and strategic analysis rather than spending time on data curation and dashboard building actually. So with this, I'm going to jump into the Databricks environment, going to show some of the dashboards that we built actually. So this is the, I'm going to run through with the interest of time. I may not be spending much time on each of the dashboards, but I quickly, run through it. So the theme of the dashboard is like the single value tiles are high level numbers on the top. As you go down, it is expanded with multiple dimensions. For example, in the GL balances, the top three tiles shows like what is the opening balance and closing balance and what is the period net amount actually. So, and then we have just given some bare minimal filters, but again, this is completely customizable at the client environment because every client, the needs are different. Sometimes the dimensionality for them is completely different. So, for like somebody will use the companies and, the profit center, cost centers, etc., etc. So we can completely customize this, add the required the filters and the tiles, etc. So this is just to show a glimpse of our understanding of finance data model and then how we can stand up this pre-built analytics at the day one actually, like before even gathering a requirement. This can work on the existing standard data set like Oracle, ERP or SAP. We can stand up this one actually. So this also gives a good opportunity for a business person to brainstorm, what does this dashboard look like, right? What can they really, to come up with more ideas, like what are the other metrics they really need actually. So like the GL balances, the metrics on the top shows the single value numbers. As you go down, you can see the slice and dice, like opening balances shown by top 10 locations, then the department-wise ending balances, and further down, we can see this by different ledgers, different clients, and then the bottom of this, we are giving the transaction level or table level information, where this is like more of debugging and operational nature report actually. So similarly, the trial balance have similar patterns, the balances, and then showing the trend actually. So as you go to each of those slides here, so this is getting much deeper into a particular journals, like what is the credit amount, what is the debit amount, and what is the net amount, like between, like it's like debit minus credit actually. So then we also have like quarter to date comparisons, year to date comparisons. It can show like are we trending up or trending down, like year over year, quarter over year, quarter over quarter. So all that can be built actually. So similarly, like the cash receipt, going deeper into the cash receipts by different customers, again monthly trends, then finally the receipt details of the individual receipts here actually. So the same patterns across all different dashboards. So that is GL actually. So now moving on to the AR. the theme of the dashboard remain the same, but the KPIs are different for different dashboards. Like now the AR transaction covers the credit memos, debit memos, what is the total receivable amounts, what's the balance, what's the tax amount out of that, what is receipt amount, etc. And then as you go down, we can see this KPIs by various dimensions. Here we can see this, the receipt by top 10 customers. It can show like this pie chart helps us to identify which customer has the top receipt actually. So and similarly we can see the balance amount by top 10 customers, total receivables, credit memos, all of this we can see that actually. So as you scroll down, we can see the trend month-over-month trend as well, and then finally you can see the transaction details. And same goes to the aging analysis. Aging analysis helps us to understand the outstanding, and then we can and see this who owes the lot. And this is particularly helpful for the collections team, to identify where the balance are sitting right now, and they can take actions immediately. So that is the theme of AR dashboards. Just moving on to the AP. So on the account payables, it's more of like invoices, or maybe like it's a when we receive the materials, that's when the AP kicks off. So the first step is like paying invoices, and then like how much is the invoice amount, and what is the paid invoice out of that, what is overdue, and then now it shows like the invoices by different vendor names. And then we can see like the top vendors, top 10 vendors, so whom the largest invoice outstanding is balance. And then we can also see some of the invoices that are on hold, and the late payment and then overdue amount. So these are all the various KPIs, and then KPIs shown with multiple dimensionalities actually. As you scroll down, you can see when the transactional information. As I go further, this is like taking us to the purchase journals. Then next is going deep dive into the invoices alone, like invoices paid, and I think we have seen that in the AP overview. But here it's particularly focused on the invoices. And similarly, this one is this dashboard, this page is built for the invoice hold information, because it's very important for us to release all the older invoices to releases the payments actually. So finally, the AP aging analysis helps us on the outstanding point of view. So suppose this particular chart, if you look at it, this shows the outstanding by aging bucket. So like we can look at like 61 to 90 days is the largest outstanding. So these invoices are pending for 61 to 90 days, and then we can take actions from there actually. So as you scroll down, you can see multiple slice and dice of the same numbers. So I'm also going to run through a Genie. Suppose if a finance team, they want to do a self-service analysis without creating all the pre-built contents like dashboards and reports, how can they do that actually? Right? So I'm going to take this example of AP aging analysis. Now, if I just click here, I can see this the data set behind the scene. Again, as part of our pre-built accelerators, we are also building all of these data sets, which will be used to generate like many other charts as well as the self-service analysis. Now I go deeper into the data modeling aspect, and we can see like the multiple data sets built to build up in order to build all the dashboards. And then we also have the semantic layer. For example, the AP aging analysis, we have a semantic layer on top of the data model where we define multiple KPIs like the balance amount, vendor balance amount, and then the various dimensionalities like invoice ID and the ledger name, vendor name, accounts, and all of this is dimensionality defined actually. So this is a semantic layer sitting on top of the data model, which Genie makes use of the semantic layer to answer the questions actually. So I can quickly also show you the data model behind the scene, how these tables are coming together, what is the join behind the scene. Again, as Nitika showed, some of these tables can be easily built using our chat agent, the gold agent as well. So now, suppose if I open a Genie, when I select this data, I'm going to choose this AP aging analysis, the metric view, the semantic view that we built for aging analysis, right? So now once I choose this particular semantic view, it understands all of the definitions, like what are the KPIs and what are the dimensions. And then it also knows this various joins underneath what is happening here actually, right? Now I can ask simple question, show the outstanding balances by aging bucket. If I go back to the dashboard, we can see that. So this is like the exact same report we built here, 61 to 90 days. It is $324 million is outstanding under this bucket action, right? So I suppose let's assume that you don't have this dashboard built, but you have the data model. Now you can directly ask questions, right? So then Genie understands it. It gives the information in a text format, in the table format, as well as the chart action. Right now you can exactly match the numbers, $324 million. This is like the exact same look and feel. So this makes this dashboard completely redundant actually. The business users, they don't need to build. They can just come here, ask whatever questions they want to, they can get answered, provided we define all this metrics semantic layer properly. So it's not only that actually, right? So somebody in the business who have like strong understanding of the data, they can even create these agents for everybody in the department. Like they can give any custom instructions or general instructions. For example, if they're operating in multiple countries, right? They want to get results in the USD always, or if they're operating in multiple time zones and they want to get results always in in a Pacific time. So all that they can give is as general instructions, and everybody in the department that uses this, the outcome will be same. So as such, so we can feed all these instructions, so the Genie understands the particular domain or the requirements very well, so it can give a tailor-made results instead of giving some generic answers actually. So that is the beauty of it. So now let's say I'm going to refine this question. So I want to take a much deeper actions now. The next question I'm posting is like show the outstanding balance by aging bucket as a stacked bar. But I want to also see this payment terms as a stacked bar. I'm trying to understand what payment terms this particular bucket belongs to, right? Now, with that question, it is just giving that particular chart using the payment term as a stacked bar. Now we can see this next 60. So we know that 61 to 90 days is nothing but the payment due like more than 61 days. But the net 60, most of them belongs to net 60, which means they are supposed to be paid after 60 days only. So they are not really an outstanding edge, right? Suppose if anything like more than net 60, let's say they are supposed to be paid net 15, but they are outstanding, then that's a concern because they are supposed to be cleared in 15 days, but it is sitting in the 61 to 90 days bucket action, right? That is the concern. So this helps for the business team to identify the bottleneck, the real problem with this invoices, and then they can take an action. So finally, I pass on a comment. Now show all the invoice details for the aging bucket of this and the payment term of like net 60, right? So with that, it gives the table level information or invoice level information. So where we can see this invoice IDs, invoice amount, what is the original invoice amount, what is the outstanding balance, etc. So from here, they can exactly take actions. They can see whether these invoices are on hold or not. They can do whatever to release these payments, to make the vendor happy. So this is how the finance team or business team can make use of Genie to self-serve, their needs about the data action. I hope this makes sense for you guys. With that, I'll jump back into the slide. So as I said, I'm going to talk about another Agentic AI use case implemented for the finance team. This is done for another client. So this is particularly used for the period close activities as a reconciliation agent actually. So they have the data, like they are using like multiple source systems for the financial data. Example, they are using the lease dimension to generate all the customer invoices. And they're using like Sage accounting software or accounting system for the general ledger. And then, of course, all of their contracts and the sales information coming from their CRM platform, which is sitting in our gold layer delta tables actually. Like what we do during the month end, we take all this and then we generate an agent and or a reconciliation agent, right? So that compares data across this different system, and then the finance team is given a chat interface to interact with this agent. So they can simply ask questions like, are there invoices in the lease dimension today that don't have the GL posting yet? So likewise, they can ask all the reconciliation questions. This automatically compares it and then gives the results. It's not only giving the results here, they can take actions. Suppose if there is an invoice missing, they can just click off a button. They can call this particular method that creates invoice, or they can call an API to generate the journal creation action, right? Or if the account is completely reconciling, they can approve it for the period close activities. Or in case if it's not something that they can close it right away, they need somebody to take actions, they can even configure notification to the respective team. So all of these actions can be taken just through this chat interface in a single place in a matter of seconds actually. Otherwise, it takes weeks, for them to complete this exercise. So that's how the agentic framework helps the finance team to close out or to automate many of this actions through a natural language interface actually. We can even show this as a demo for the interest of time. I'm just highlighting this actually. So with that, we'll get on a quick poll. What interests you most about the Agentic AI approach showcased in this webinar? So is it like AI-driven automation of data transformation tasks, or is it like human in the loop governance and control? Is it continuous data quality enforcement and proactive monitoring, or chatbot-driven data interactions for business users, that is Genie, and then cost and time savings through reduced manual intervention? Slightly, few seconds to answer this. Okay, so I think many of you answered like the AI-driven automation of data transformation tasks. Okay, so the backend is probably most of your interest, and I can also see that human in the loop governance and control and cost and time savings through a reduced manual intervention are also of your interest. Thank you for sharing this.